Founded by a former employee of Peter Luger, Benjamin Steakhouse remains a popular and notable Midtown Manhattan restaurant. Their menu is filled with a fine selection of steak, and after dining there, I was left incredibly impressed. Right now I'm here in my apartment, just got some work to take care of before I head out for the evening, and I'm very excited because I'm going to a pretty well-regarded steakhouse. It's called Benjamin Steakhouse. Now, I've wanted to go to this restaurant for a couple of reasons. For one thing, on a lot of my other steakhouse videos, a lot of people have recommended Benjamin's to me, and the owner of the place, the guy who started the restaurant, used to work at the famed and iconic Peter Luger. Now, if one looks on Benjamin Steakhouse's menu and looks at some of the pictures of the food they offer, there are definitely similarities to Peter Luger. I mean, they've got those massive pre-cut steaks that come out sizzling that can feed 2, 3, 4 people. But thankfully, they don't share every aspect with Peter Luger. Namely, Benjamin Steakhouse takes credit cards. The reason why I'm going to the restaurant now is because it's currently summer restaurant week. So there was one Friday night a few weeks ago. I was in my bed on my computer and I was scrolling through all the restaurants that are participating in this year's Summer Restaurant Week, which is obviously what all the cool people do in New York City on a Friday night. I was trying to figure out which were the best restaurants that I could go to, where I'd get the best deals, the restaurants that excited me the most. So I saw that Benjamin Steakhouse was participating, so I looked at their Restaurant Week menu and it looked like a pretty good menu. The food options that they have looked pretty solid. As a result, I made a reservation, and in just a few hours, it will be steak time for me. The restaurant's pretty centrally located in Midtown Manhattan. It's literally right around the corner from the iconic Grand Central Terminal. So I'm gonna finish up my work here, get ready, and then head to the restaurant. Benjamin Steakhouse was founded in 2006 by the Bens. Both owners share the first name of Benjamin. In the almost 20 years the restaurant has been in business, it has accumulated praise, high-profile customers, and a good deal of success that has allowed the establishment to expand not only in New York City, but also abroad with locations in Tokyo and Kyoto. Inside, the restaurant has the typical dimly lit steakhouse aesthetic that exudes a sense of romanticism and class. The bi-level establishment has soaring ceilings, chandeliers, and a massive fireplace. I definitely appreciated the interior. While I was at Benjamin specifically for their Restaurant Week menu, I did get a look at their regular dinner menu and was impressed with the options. As far as their Restaurant Week menu, it included my choice of an appetizer, entree, side, and dessert for $60. After placing my order, I turned my attention to the bread basket. There were 3 different kinds of bread, and I found them all to be decent. While they were nothing special, I did appreciate the variety. Alongside the bread were butter and olive oil that had a touch of balsamic. They were of decent quality, but I would have preferred the butter to be a bit smoother, but at least it had the flavor. Even though I was enjoying the bread, I didn't have to wait long before my first course was presented.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
I got the Benjamin soup with ground beef, potatoes, and onions. It wasn't the largest portion size, but fortunately, it was pretty tasty. The broth had a good savory flavor, while the quality of the beef was definitely a notch above. It was a solid appetizer, but I would have preferred it to be a bit more densely packed with beef and vegetables, but nevertheless, I liked it. With my soup finished, it was now time for what I was truly at the restaurant for, the spinach. No, I'm just kidding, but I did get the creamless cream spinach as a side. I was of course at Benjamin's for the steak. I got their USDA Prime dry-aged New York sirloin. The first thing I noticed about the steak was its smell. It was absolutely heavenly. Just like Peter Luger, the steak comes out pre-cut on a hot plate with clarified butter. It's a beautiful piece of meat. Although I do suspect that the portion size has been limited for Restaurant Week, I was still very excited to dig in. My first bite was just plain awesome. The steak was so juicy and flavorful with the right amount of salt and a pleasant, texturally satisfying crust on top. It was first rate. I was also surprised with just how similar it tasted like the steak served at Peter Luger. It had that same richness, but was texturally a bit better with the meat's char. As far as the temperature, I asked for it to be medium rare, and I feel like the steak was more on the medium side. But at the same time, it's so damn dark in the restaurant that I really couldn't tell by the color of the meat. Regardless of the temperature, I still really loved that steak. Benjamin's also has their own steak sauce, and while I typically prefer my steak without any additions, I wanted to at least give the condiment a try. As far as steak sauces go, it was pretty good. It was sweet, but it had the right level of sweetness. I thought it was a nicely balanced sauce and complemented my steak well. But the reality is, my steak didn't need anything more. It was incredibly flavorful and juicy just as it was. I also really enjoyed my side of the creamless creamed spinach. As the name implies, there's no cream in the dish, but surprisingly, it tastes just as good and creamy as the examples from other top-tier NYC steakhouses. The spinach flavor was great, but the course was also really light. I really appreciated this aspect because when I'm consuming a big and robust steak, it's nice to consume something on the lighter side. In fact, Benjamin's spinach is so notable that there was even a Forbes article written about it. Together with my steak and side, I was enjoying a great dinner, but I just wish that the steak was a bit larger because it was so good, and the next thing that I knew, it was gone. Thankfully, I still had dessert ahead of me. I went with the New York cheesecake, which was topped with blueberries and accompanied by a dollop of cream. The beautiful dessert proved to be both fresh and delicious. The cheesecake had a nice and soft texture with a rich flavor, but one that was properly balanced with the acidity of the blueberries. Having the cream on the side was welcomed, and overall it was a really solid slice of cheesecake. It was certainly a nice ending to a good dinner at Benjamin's. However, and I only noticed this later, it looked like coffee and tea might have been included on the Restaurant Week menu. Regardless if that was the case or not, I should have at least been asked if I wanted a beverage with my dessert. That was clearly a bit of a misfire on the part of the service. But besides that one instance, I was fortunate enough to have enjoyed great service throughout my dinner. Plates were cleared almost instantaneously and the food arrived promptly to my table. After finishing, I was presented with my bill, which came to $65.33, but with my tip, I spent just about $78. Later, I was also able to get a $10 statement credit on my card as a result of a nice MasterCard Restaurant Week promotion. In total, I thought that the Restaurant Week menu provided great value in what is typically a costly restaurant. It was indeed a very good meal.
I'm at Bryant Park right now, just doing a little decompressing after that dinner. They've got their movies in the park going on right now. It's pretty neat, but Benjamin Steakhouse, that was really good. That was a very satisfying dinner. That steak was so good. Now, my steak was clearly the highlight, but I really enjoyed everything I had. I think that Restaurant Week menu was a great deal. However, because it was a Restaurant Week menu, that steak was a bit smaller than I normally would get. I really looked on with envy at some of the neighboring tables. A lot of them got those steaks meant for 2-3 people, and they just look so good. I swear, if those steaks are like half as good as what I had today, I could easily finish a steak meant for 2 people, maybe even 3. It was just so good. And to further heighten my food lust, another table near me got one of those epic seafood towers, which looked amazing. I mean, the whole menu at Benjamin Steakhouse looks really good. There's a lot of great options on there. But the steak I had today, even though it wasn't one of the primo cuts, I just loved it. There was so much flavor to it. Honestly, it tasted so much like a steak from Peter Luger. I was shocked. Overall, I had a great dinner at Benjamin Steakhouse. They are a truly solid New York City restaurant. And I think their Restaurant Week menu is one of the best Restaurant Week deals you can get in this city. I will definitely be back to Benjamin Steakhouse, and during my next visit, I will certainly be getting a much, much bigger steak. And if I do get a steak meant for 2 people, I sure as hell won't be sharing it.